Well, it's mid-February and winter finally came to the Pacific Northwest. We really get warm, wet winters most of the time, but on occasion that rain will be met with some really cold weather coming down from the north to accumulate into some winter snowstorms. It's a good opportunity to do some snow removal with the Chinese mini skid steer, see how well it does. I know most of you in the Midwest are really used to this all season long, but out here we only get a few snowstorms a year. Good opportunity to try out this skid steer. So get this mini truck moved out of the way. We got about 9.5 inches here, and it's about 27 degrees out, and we're going to fire up the mini skid steer and see how it does to plow the driveway. So enjoy the video. So I'm going to be comparing back and forth between the skid steer and my tractor. I've plowed my driveway for years with my 2,500 pound 𝗣𝗶𝗱 18 horse diesel tractor. I have to say, the tractor is very tough to get coaxed into starting with this cold weather. It's got glow plugs, but maybe it's a little lower on compression now, being from the late 70s. But this gas engine just fired right up. The diesel tractor usually takes a lot of work to get started in a good battery in this cold weather. So that was a win, just having a really simple gas engine to fire it right up. And right off the bat, I also noticed that this thing actually has some pretty good pushing power. The tractor's 4-wheel drive that I have, and I got a differential lock. I find myself using the differential lock a lot on the tractor to get enough traction. And this isn't really icy underneath the snow here. This is all pretty fresh. It's been snowing for the last 2 or 3 days. Hadn't had many times for it to melt and then freeze up again. It's mostly been cold. But this thing does really good, at least on this flat work right here. A little bit later in the video, we're going to get down on the driveway where it's a bit steeper. But yeah, this thing worked pretty good. I wish I had a plow blade on it. Never got around to fabbing up like a bigger snow blade, but definitely something I'm going to work on in the future. I didn't want to put a bunch of time and effort into building a plow blade for this if it didn't do very good in the snow. But I was actually pretty impressed so far. I see this thing working a lot better for around my place, clearing the snow when we get it, better than my tractor. One of the biggest reasons I really like this, even if it's not as fast on the roads and stuff as my tractor is, the maneuverability is fantastic, far better. I can get into tighter areas, have better control over it. It's like probably a third of the length of my tractor with a box scraper on the back and a loader on the front. The tractor doesn't have power steering. This hydrostatic drive is really accurate, really smooth. And even like I said, if it's not as fast as the tractor, you can spin it on a dime. And it's just definitely a lot nicer to get in and maneuver around small items and vehicles and different things. And I think it's definitely a win. So for maneuverability, this thing wins hands down. To be able to plow, spin 180 degrees and plow back in the other direction was awesome. You get in and around vehicles, visibility is great. And one thing I never do on dry ground and the concrete is skid steer like this, just because you're more prone to having track issues. Out in the snow, I had no issues throughout the day plowing with any snow chunks getting caught in the tracks or feeling like the tracks are going to kick off. So definitely a win. Well, I got that whole entire area. It's probably 30 by 60 feet maybe, something like that, maybe 70. Plowed in maybe 15 minutes. Took me more time moving the damn cameras around to get the shots than it did to plow the stuff. Working fantastic. Now, time to go down the driveway, see how this handles plowing up and down the steeper grades. So this hill I've always battled with my tractor and vehicles when we get a lot of snow. This skid steer, most things can plow downhill just fine, but a true test was going to see how well it plowed uphill. Again, I wish I didn't have just the stock bucket on here. I wish I would have spent a little bit of time fabbing up a nice, real wide plow blade for it. But I was kind of surprised how much this thing would push in front of it. My tractor, of course, would always push a lot of snow. It had a lot of weight, a lot of power. But this thing for, 13.5 horse engine, it didn't really even bog down at all, pushing a lot of snow with mid throttle. So we're going to start pushing up the hill, and you can't push as much snow going up it, same with my tractor, but it does pretty damn good. I was pretty impressed with that. And this hillside's pretty steep. We've had a lot of issues with vehicles and stuff sliding on it. and I measured it the best I could, and it's about 13-degree angle going up this steeper section of the driveway. And the skid steer did pretty well. Keep in mind, it's pretty powdery conditions, not like we have a major amount of ice underneath it, but did pretty good. Right there, I caught the driveway a little bit with the bucket and got into some fresh gravel, but it pushed pretty well. So one feature my tractor has that this skid steer doesn't, and I don't think I've seen on any of the Chinese skid steers, so the tractor wins hands down for the float feature. Float is with the front end loader arms on a tractor. Mine, I can raise stuff, I can lower stuff, power down, but you can also engage a float feature, which the front end loader arms are just basically in a neutral position. They can track the ground, and if they get pushed up from a mound, they'll go up. If they follow down, they'll track any low points in the ground. That's what float is, and this machine doesn't have a float feature, and I haven't seen them on any of these Chinese skid steer companies yet producing that. So if these companies could wisen up and add a float feature you could engage, it would be really nice. So right now when I'm plowing, I'm just trying to keep my bucket fairly level. I'm not trying to scrape the driveway down to the gravel, scrape it clean. I'm just trying to get majority of the snow off in case it keeps stacking up. We don't have any vehicles, lower vehicles getting high centered on the snow. And like I said, I'm not trying to scrape it clean, but you kind of got to be cautious with your bucket being fairly level so you don't dig into the driveway, and a float feature for a plow blade would just make it really handy. So hopefully in the future, some of the companies start adding a float on the front end loader arms would be a really nice thing. So I mentioned this in the previous video, but I've been running my tracks pretty loose. When I first got this machine, they were wicked tight. They sounded unhealthy and clanky and just not good. You get a rock caught in them, it sounds like you're gonna break something. So you can see they kind of bounce around a little bit. I'm traveling here and haven't had any issues since I've been running them fairly loose. I know some people really like tight. I don't like that, especially when working through deep gravel and rocks and stuff like that. You just don't want that stuff binding up and cracking the rocks or breaking something in your track system. Leave a comment down below how you like to measure your tracks and what you've been happy with. Are you running them tight? You're running them loose? Like I said, I've been running these things loose and I've had a lot less issues, and it's going to be a lot easier on all the drive components as well. But I'd like to hear your thoughts on that. So the stock bucket worked all right for pushing snow off the road, but it wasn't that efficient. I think one of these machines paired up because it's got auxiliary hydraulic ports on there. You can run extra hydraulics. One of these paired up with a true hydraulic right and left tilting snow plow would be key. Where I'm at, we don't get a ton of snow, get a weeks here, a week there. But I think if you're in the Midwest or somewhere that got a lot of snowstorms, one of these machines not only could you use around your own place, but you could probably pick up a lot of side work. It did not seem like it was really hard on this machine ever. It never really bogged it down pushing large amounts of snow. And even though it's not commercial grade, I think you could still do a lot of driveway work. Probably nothing you want to plow like long major driveways, like mile-long driveways, but short driveways and walkways and stuff like that. I think you could probably pick up some side work and stay pretty busy with something as simple as this. Now, I never advocate for that kind of stuff with massive dirt work with these machines because I still feel like they're a homeowner consumer model. But this snow plowing was so easy on this machine. I think you could stay busy throughout the whole winter doing snow plow work. And it might be a good side gig, something kind of a secondary job for you. So something definitely consider. Well, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, consider buying me a warm cup of coffee. Link below in the description. It really helped me out, so I appreciate that. Also, there's skid steers, this model, and a few other track models, so check those links out as well. When I was a kid, I always had a lot of fun in the snow, but as an adult, this always means snow means chores and work. But got all our chores done for the day. It's time to get the kiddos and get the sleds and get out and have fun again. Well, thanks for watching. Till next time, take care. Goodbye.